Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay before we get started. Check 1, 2. Okay, perfect. So thank you for joining us tonight. We have been waiting for a while. When I say we, I mean Tania and myself. We've been planning this interview for a couple of weeks now, and we're actually supposed to go live on Friday, but something came up at work. So I'm really excited to do this tonight. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this technical stuff going. Okay. So as you know, or as you may know, Tania she's an author, and she's written several books actually that I would love to talk to her about and ask her questions about. And her latest book is No Inclination, and it's a fiction-based novel inspired by the Chris Watts case. So it should be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to speaking with her about that. Also, just for your information, I have linked her Amazon author page in the description box, and I've also linked the link for her Kindle, for the Kindle version of No Inclination, if you guys want to check that out. And I included a little excerpt. All right, so without further ado, I am going to bring Miss Tania on right now so we can get it started. Hopefully towards the end of our chat, we can open up the floor for some questions from you guys as well. So hello.
Hi, Dr. B. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. I love it.
Thank you for joining. So
certainly. My pleasure.
I just want to make sure that everyone can hear us, because I'm a little bit paranoid with the sound because I keep doing stuff to make it not work.
Oh no, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay? Or
oh no, I can hear you fine. I just want to make sure that everyone in chat can hear us.
Very good.
Yeah, because last time I went live, I unplugged the microphone and I was talking for like 3 minutes.
And that sounds like something I do. I'm terrible with technology. I break everything I touch. So let's hope that.
Yeah.
Let's hope I can keep it together for the show.
Same.
Pardon me.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then the very first time I went live, I don't know what I did, but I didn't. Yeah. The mic was off too. And so I was like talking for like 5 minutes, and people are like, did this start yet?
Oh no, how funny.
So yeah, now I just want to check in just to make sure.
There you go. That'll work.
And it sounds like we're good. So
awesome.
All right. So again, thank you for doing this. I know we planned to do this on Friday.
Thanks for having me. I know, and that's fine. That's fine. I usually go to my mom's house every Friday afternoon anyway, so it worked out for the best. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I felt horrible because it was last minute too. So
don't worry. I'm glad to be here now.
Okay, well, great. So let's get started. I've prepared some questions, and obviously this is not anything formal, but we'll just play it by ear. But I did prepare some questions. So first, I just wanted to ask a little bit about you.
Sure.
Who is Tania?
Who is Tania? Oh my gosh. I am currently a Midwestern housewife and a mom, and I'm also an author. I don't have a real job. I'm kind of a bum. I just I just write.
Well,
I was born in Illinois. I grew up in Southern California, and when my husband and I got married, we moved back to the Chicago area, and we have one daughter and two dogs, and that's about it. I'm pretty much a boring, typical housewife. So
well,
that's me.
I don't know. I don't know about boring, but
Aw,
okay.
thank you.
And as a writer myself, writing is very difficult. So props to you for
Oh, well, thank you. It's
yeah,
kind of therapeutic to me. I like to write.
very.
I don't really enjoy, I used to be a newspaper reporter and all those things. I don't really enjoy doing that kind of work, but writing a book is something else altogether. So I really
Oh yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking speaking of writing, when did you start writing? Not just books or novels, but in
Sure.
general. Like, did you start off journaling, or how did
Well,
that
no,
become a
I
passion?
started I started off pretty much in college. I think where I was a regular writer for my college newspaper and for the college magazine, and then I was the editor of the magazine. And from there I went to TV news in Ontario, California, and a lot of this book is actually set in Ontario, California, where I
Mhm.
did the nightly business report for the Inland Empire TV news. And I also wrote half the copy for the Inland Empire Business Journal, and this is right out of college. And from there, we moved to Chicago, and I did a little bit of newspaper reporting, as a stringer or whatever. But I didn't write my first book, I want to say, till 2014. My daughter was in high school, and that's when I sat down to write my actual first book.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow, so you started off as a journalist. That's
I
pretty
did.
exciting.
Yes, I did. And I really didn't enjoy that much, because, I guess it was short stories, and it was, 800, 1,500 words. And I always had a lot more to say.
Oh,
So I really like writing, being an author of actual full size books, much, much better than doing the journalist type of stuff, really.
absolutely. I also struggle with conciseness. I can
Yes.
go on and on.
So you know what I mean. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
exactly. Exactly. It's hard to keep it to 1,500 words or something like that or whatever. But
Yeah. But
yeah,
it sounds
very
like
good.
as a journalist, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but
Sure.
does that entail investigating as well? And so I think that would be something that would be interesting for me, but maybe not necessarily the writing part and the limitations that come with it.
Right. Well, I didn't really do any investigative journalism. Again, I did the business report on the TV news. So that was,
Oh,
kind of local businesses and, what the stock market is doing and things like that. And when I was a stringer for the newspaper, there were a couple of stories that I reported on. Like, there was a murder suicide in a town near me, and I just happened to be driving by. And so it was a little bit of in depth, stuff that you wouldn't normally cover. But again, it was, like an 800-word story or whatever it was. So, but
mhm.
no, I wasn't like an investigative journalist where I, pry into people's business or anything like that. At least, yeah, when, and again, this was however many years ago. But yeah, so it's interesting, but journalism's really not for me. I don't know why. My brother has made a huge career of it. He's a publisher of something like 12 different magazines, in
Mm.
Indianapolis. But I don't like that sort of writing. It's just me, just my preference.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So you said you started writing in college.
I
Tell
did.
tell us about that.
About writing in college. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, at my college newspaper, they would need little stories here and there, and I do human interest pieces. And I remember I wrote this one article about my parents had owned a preschool daycare center at the time. And so I wrote a little human interest story about the kids at the daycare, and I won a bunch of journalism awards for it. And then I ended up being the editor of the college magazine the next year. And, it was just different little stories that had to do with college life or anything that would interest college kids, basically. And, that was a lot of fun because you got to be close to everyone who was in journalism with you. And it was like a little family. But, it wasn't the real world. And then right out of college, my brother and I were recruited by a company called Daily Planet Productions to go out and my brother was the editor of the monthly business magazine, and I was like the assistant editor. And we both did about half the stories. And then they wanted me to be on the air, I guess because I can talk a lot.
Oh,
I don't know,
wow.
but I ended up doing it was a weekly restaurant review I would do. And then I also did the nightly business report for the news. So that was kind of fun, kind of different. I learned how to work with a teleprompter and all that stuff. And I was pretty much the only on air talent that wrote their own copy. Everybody else would come in and just read whatever they had written for them. But I wrote my own stories every night. So that's kind of where it all started in college and then right out of college.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was fun. Doing the TV news was a lot of fun. It really was.
That's awesome. And as far as your novels, you said that you didn't publish your first book until around 2014.
Right. That's when I started writing it. I think it was actually published in 2016.
I see. Okay. So, what prompted you to start writing books?
Well, it was really strange. My one of my dear friends, Heather, she had her son was 8 years old at the time, and we went to some kind of a gathering. It was like a bridal shower or something. And Heather told me, "Well, I just finished writing my first book." And I said, "Oh my gosh, how can you write a book? You've got an 8-year-old kid." And my daughter was like 13 or 14 at the time. And I said, "Well, oh my gosh, if this girl can write a book with an 8-year-old at home, I can certainly sit down and do it myself." Because my daughter is older. I thought, oh, I'm just a mom. I could never write a whole book. But when she did it, I was really inspired to sit down and write a book. And I did. And I was shocked that I actually was able to do this. But yeah,
Okay.
that was my first book called The Cure. And I completed it, I want to say October of 2015. I signed my first contract with my publisher. And it was released, I believe, February of 2016. So
Okay.
that one took me like 9 months to write, which is kind of long for me. I usually get them done much faster than that now that I have the experience, of course. I know how to do them fairly quickly and still be, pretty coherent in my writing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to, that was going to be one of my questions too. So how, in terms of like how long it takes
Sure.
to write a novel. So you said the first one is about 9 months, and then that's too long
Right.
for you, you said?
And that's pretty long. And
Okay.
most of my books I do under 7 months usually.
Okay.
I know the last one I wrote before this one, which was The Ghost of Grey Gardens, I co-authored it with this beautiful woman, Lois Wright. She's going to be 92 in July. And it's the story of her life. And we took a little over a year with that one, but that was because it involved a lot of business trips, going out to visit her and to visit her family and to gather information. That was a nonfiction book. So it takes a little, we did a lot of phone interviews and we did a lot of, reading. I'd read her the copy and she'd approve it and we'd make changes. So because it involved
Hmm.
a co-author, it took me a little bit over a year for us to complete that one. But most of them are definitely under 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I even wrote one, I think, in 2 months, and that's one of my favorite books today. That would be The Haunting of Tenley Hall. I did that one very quickly, and I still love that book. But yeah, so it just depends. If it's fiction, it goes very quickly because you just
Okay.
depend on yourself and your own mind to write it.
Okay. And as an author, who's your favorite author? Like, who inspires you?
Oh my gosh, I love Dean Koontz and I love Stephen King, which is strange, but
Mhm.
um and Dean Koontz, I love him because he's from Southern California too. And when I read his work, he talks about the area, and that's sort of what I did with this book. I threw it in Southern California, and I mentioned a bunch of places that people might recognize. But I Stephen King was my first favorite author. And
Mhm.
some of my other stories, and my husband actually said, "Oh my gosh, you write like Stephen King," and I was, "Oh my god, what?" So I've got influences like that, and then I like some other oddball people like Mary Higgins Clark. I actually love her work, which is might be
Mhm.
strange, but
No, not at
so
all.
yeah, I'm inspired everywhere, and I read a lot. And then now I have a lot of friends who are actually authors, so I read a lot of their work as well.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it goes. I go everywhere with the genres that I read, and also with the genres that I write. So it's all over the board.
Yeah. That's awesome though, because I'm like that too. I get
Yes,
bored easily, and so I can't
yes.
just, do one thing or read one thing.
Right, right. Exactly. And that's the same way with me with writing books. And I love all the genres that I've written in, but I keep changing and I keep evolving. And I think, well, I'm going to want to do, true crime now. Let me see how I can handle that. So yeah, it goes all over the board. And I'm not
Yeah.
done yet. I'll keep going everywhere with my writing.
Yeah, I go through phases. Like with music, for example, I see my mom maybe once a month or so, and every time we drive somewhere together or we're in the car together, there's like a
Sure.
different genre of music playing in my car. And so
Oh, how funny.
every
Yeah.
month
And yeah,
she's like,
I do that too. I'm all over the board with music as well.
yeah, yeah. Like one month it'll be, I don't know, like alternative rock, and then like the next month it's like gangster rap, and
Sure.
she would just be like, whoa, that
Or country
escalated
western
quickly.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Um, so what was the last book you read or are currently reading?
Um, a book that I'm currently reading. This is going to sound terrible, but I don't remember the name of it. It's actually a psychological thriller, which is what I've been in. Let me actually, I could probably try to look that up for you right now. Isn't that terrible? What a terrible person. I don't remember the name of the book that I'm reading. Hold on.
I'm not good with remembering names
I
either.
know, right? Oh my gosh. Hold on.
I'm horrible with names, like author names and stuff like that. Like I cannot remember any of them. I will tell you though that when Dan Brown, when his Da Vinci Code came out, I was obsessed. Tanya, did we lose her? Uh, I think we did. Let's see. Do you want to try to come back in? Or let me try to do this. Hello? Yeah, she's going to try to come back in. Sorry about that, guys. Of course, something has to go wrong. Hello? Still no sound. I wonder if you refresh it, Tanya. Sorry, guys. No, she hasn't muted herself. I think this happens sometimes at like the worst times ever, so. I'll try to send her a new link. Hopefully it'll work better.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
You're
thank
back.
goodness. I have no idea what happened. I could hear you, but obviously you couldn't hear me. And I'm hoping it might be my Wi-Fi. I don't know.
No, I don't know. It happens sometimes. It's happened to me too. And I was looking at my microphone plug and I was like, wait, that's not what's going on here.
No,
So
I'm using my phone and I have it plugged in because I had run out my battery. So I'm hoping that's not what it is. But anyway, I'm here. Yay.
Okay. All right. So I'm so glad that we figured it out because I freaked out for a minute.
Definitely. I know. And like I said, I break everything mechanical or technical. So I was worried I did something.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
That's funny.
But yeah, I was saying that what inspired me, this might sound stupid too, but when Dan Brown's book came out, the Da Vinci Code, and then all the books after that, I was just sucked in because he did, to me at least, like he bridged fantasy and reality. Like his novels were all kind of based on factual stuff,
Right.
and it required a lot of research in a lot of different areas. So
I love his work.
Yeah, I just thought it was so amazing, and so that's kind of like what got me started, going down that path too. But
sure. And have you written a book at all, or no?
Yeah, but I'm too wuss to publish it.
Are you kidding? Oh no, you should. You should totally do it. Oh my goodness. If
No,
you have it written, just edit it and get it to a publisher. There's so many publishers that would probably jump on it.
Yeah, I used. So I started writing it when I started school, actually, and so when you say you wrote your first book in 9 months, it's like I literally would. I started when I started school, and I finished it like a year before I graduated. So
well, that's fine.
I would just like go back and forth.
Sure, yeah. Why not?
And I think the reason why I'm just kind of like stalling and don't want to put it out anywhere is because I really turned my own life into like a fiction kind of fictional story. And I also mixed a little bit of like psychology in there. So like the way that I represent trauma in the book is by like imaginary friends kind of thing, because it's about kids basically.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't know, like it's not, like I said, it's fiction, but at the same time it's like so personal that I'm just like, no one can see this.
Oh no, you should really consider getting it published or finding an agent. And sometimes the true stories are the best stories, and if it's based on your life, then only you know how to write that. And that's, you write what you know, and that usually makes a very good story. You should do it. Definitely. Oh my gosh.
All right. So
there, girl.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah. Aw.
So, all right. So you said that you like a lot of different genres, and so what brought you to crime? What brought you to the Chris Watts case? Because if I understand this correctly, this is your first true crime based.
It is. Novel? It's the first true crime based novel, and I have a book that it's actually a short novella that's about a female serial killer, but it's not based in any fact. It's called Severed, and it's a really short book. It's like it's a novella. It's like 20,000 words. It's nothing important, but so I've written about crime before, and I have another story in a different book, which was a collaboration that's kind of like about a male serial killer who everything isn't as it seems. It looks like he's shooting up a school, but he's not really. It's something else entirely. But I've always been interested or captivated and frightened by cases that involve children, especially if they're a victim of a murder, of course. And I remember the JonBenet Ramsey case was out when a few years before my daughter was born, and that really affected me. Oh my gosh, I was so devastated. And then the Kaylee Anthony case as well.
Right.
And then now with this one, I was in the middle of writing The Ghost of Grey Gardens when one of my best friends, David Smith, he's actually in the book. I put him in the book. He told me that I need to look up the Watts case and that it severely disturbed him. And I need to look into it. And I started looking into it. It just shocked me and it scared me and it broke my heart. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so consumed by this case that what am I going to do about it? I have to write about it. I just have, I have to because that's what I do when something disturbs me or affects me anyway. It's the only way I know how to heal from something like that is to
Right.
write about it. That's what I do. And initially, I was going to write a nonfiction. I was thinking about maybe contacting some of the family and some of the principal players and seeing if they wanted a nonfiction where everyone contributes a little bit to it. But then Cheryl and Cadel announced her nonfiction, Letters from Christopher, and I thought, well, there's no way I could top the material that she has. There's no way I could, and I don't want to compete directly with another author because I would never do that. And I think at the time Lena was whispering too about her book coming out, My Daddy is a Hero. So I thought there's no way, let me twist this around and do it as fiction. And with
Mhm.
fiction, I can do it however I want. I
Right.
can, change. I can't change the outcome because I wanted the crime to be stated exactly as it was, but I can change the aftermath a little bit, and I can, provide more of an uplifting ending, and maybe give comfort to some people, especially to myself. So that's how I got involved with the Watts case. It was a suggestion of a very good friend of mine, and it went from there. And I, again, when something bothers me, I just want to write about it, and that's what I did. So that's how I got
Right.
here. Yeah.
Okay. And you said that once you started kind of looking at the crime or when you learned about it, that it kind of captivated you. And
It
the
did.
first thing that came to my mind was, join the club. It sounds like a lot of people
Yes.
are, and still are, even after however long it's been. It's almost been 2 years now in August. And
Right.
so, or will be. And so,
Right.
and it's still, just kind of as intense as it was when it started. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are about that.
I think the reason why the interest in the case is lasting so long is because it's so difficult to understand, and it's not like this man, was not like he was a violent man. There wasn't anything, leading up to this event that would lead anyone to believe that he would be capable of that sort of thing. He was like
Right.
everyone's husband. It was like everyone's family. It could be mine, it could be yours. And the fact that we don't have the answers and none of it makes sense
Right.
contributes to the longevity of the interest, I believe. And I think it'll be talked about, forever. And unfortunately, I know that, some of the family members are in fact disturbed by that fact. And I feel terrible, about that. But I think that everyone's going to, maintain their interest probably forever. Like, again, like with the Jean Benet case or the Kaylee Anthony case or anything. And also, again, because it does involve little children. And there's
Yeah.
so many of us who follow it who are mothers. It has a huge following with women, like women, about my age or whatever, who really, can see, could this be my family? Could this happen, next door or whatever? And I think that it disturbs us so much that we want to hold on to it in the hope of understanding it, I think.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that's spot on, the understanding part, because
Yes.
it is just, you can't fathom something like that happening. And I think that's why a lot of us don't want to let go of it and don't want to stop talking about it, stop reading the discovery and doing
Right.
all of that stuff, because it's like, well, maybe if I read it one more time, maybe there'll be something that I missed, and
Yes.
maybe that'll be the key. And so
Exactly. And so you scout, like I said, I've mentioned it before that I've watched the body cam footage maybe like 5 to 10
oh
times,
God.
now, just looking for a clue or looking for anything,
Right.
that it's just mesmerizing, just looking at how normal this guy was, and talking to the police officer, and oh wow, and it's just fascinating. And I think also because there is so much video involved in the
Yes.
case, whether it was Shanann's videos or whatever, there's so much to look at, and you feel like you're
Yes.
part of that world a little bit.
Absolutely. I think
Yes.
all of us have this like voyeuristic kind of
Yes.
tendency sometimes, and I
We
think
do.
with this case, we everything is out there. Their entire life is out there. The
Yes.
footage, the text messages, the emails, the photos, the videos, everything is out there. And so I think part of it too is that that voyeur inside of us is also
Oh,
like, oh yes,
sure. And we feel
but
like we know them, especially Shanann and her
absolutely,
children. We
yeah,
feel like, oh my gosh, she could be my best friend, or the girl who I see at the shopping center, whatever. So yeah, it's almost a personal thing. I mean, we
yeah,
do feel, yes, like there's someone we know, and
absolutely,
that keeps us interested too. Definitely.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And let's see. So I first of all, I want to thank you for
Oh, sure.
giving me a copy of your book.
Very welcome, of course. I'm glad that you could read it very much. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I
Oh,
mean, from the very beginning, it kind of just sucks you in,
oh, good.
and yeah, and so it's very good. It's very well written, and
Thank
it's
you.
very interesting. And even though we know kind of what happens and what the plot is and everything like that, I think that you did a
Sure.
really good job in telling the story from the perspective of the characters,
Thank you.
and that includes the victims, that includes the girls, Shanann.
Yes.
And so that was my next question. You said that you wrote this mostly to heal and to try
Yes.
to understand. So I'm wondering
Yes.
if writing from their perspective as well, was that part of that journey, or
Oh, absolutely. Because, what we didn't have in real life was a chance for the victims to speak, and a
right?
chance for us to get to know them a little bit better. And even though the book goes into what they experienced that night, I think that it was very healing for me to be able to put myself. I mean, when I had to write the parts of the killer, that almost killed me, of course, but when I was able to get into the head of the wife, and especially the child, and it made me think, okay, well, it's a little bit more comforting because I can see it from where they are. And I hope that maybe other people would see that as well, that we allow them to tell us what it was like for them. And I don't want to give away any of the second part of the book, but I think we get to see what happened afterwards, or what might have happened afterwards. And that was very healing for me. That was very comforting for me to be able to do it that way. So yeah, it was a process. It was a journey. Pardon me. And not all of it was easy, of course. A lot of tears, a lot of anger as I wrote the book. But it just sort of flowed out of me, like as though I had some kind of an inside track to what was going on. And that's kind of how I did it. And I'm glad that I got it all down, because there were times when I was up until 8 o'clock in the morning, literally no sleep at all, trying to make
Hmm.
it perfect, and going back and editing and making things different. And so I think I did okay. I hope everyone else appreciates it too. I don't know. I've gotten some pretty good feedback from people so far, so that's good.
Yeah. And I've learned that you can't please everybody. But I think
Exactly.
that
Yes.
yeah, I think that you were pretty balanced in how you represented everybody. So I
Okay,
thought that
thank you.
was
I appreciate that. Thank you.
that's an art in itself too. So
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I appreciate that. So sweet. And I tried. I'm sure I've gotten some things wrong, but and again, everyone can't be happy with it. A lot of people are telling me, that why would I make a fictional book, because it's already been, it's been a real life event. Well, there are so many things you can do with fiction. There's so many
oh
ways to change, things that were terrible. And again, I didn't change the crime, but I think I might have changed a way to look at it. I don't know. I don't know. I did
yeah,
my best.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you.
That's literally the exact same approach that I took with this case. Is I
Sure.
started and I got 5 chapters in, and I got stuck. And then I was
Sure.
like, well, now what? Now I don't even want to, do this anymore. But
Sure.
I came this far already. And so that's when I was kind of like, all right, like I need to look at the discovery again because,
Yes.
um, I just wanted to kind of jumpstart that imagination again. And
Sure.
And so then I started putting it together for myself in terms of like a timeline. And I think, it started telling the story itself.
Sure.
And then I got sidetracked with that. And so
Aw.
I haven't gotten back to it, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, just being able to speak for the not for them, but
Yes.
give them a voice is
Yes.
absolutely empowering.
And that's what I hope they did. And I think you've done a great job with all your work. Oh my gosh, I love your stuff that you come up with. That's, amazing what you've investigated and what you've found out. And, I can't say that I agree with you 100% about the mistresses and involvement, but that's fine. I don't mind if people disagree with my theory.
Yeah.
But I think your work is phenomenal, of course. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No,
That's so
I
good.
mean, I welcome any discussion, any debate, conversation, that's absolutely
Sure.
fine. And
Sure.
when I talk about the mistress, clearly I have some feelings there that are,
Sure. Oh, of course. Of course. How could
processed.
you not? Right. Right.
And I think, part of it might be that, because this is just so unbelievable, we can't wrap our minds around it. And so she's just kind of
Right.
like a scapegoat for everyone. Like,
Sure.
we're just going to blame her because she's, in hiding and she got away with this. And so we're just
Yes.
all
And so there's nobody else who's out there dangling and, he's put away. And so
right.
who's left, and I do understand the mentality behind that. And plus, as women, we're thinking, oh, she's the mistress, and we all would hate a mistress. But I don't see it. But that's just me. I'm open to any explanations, of course, whatever anyone comes up
Absolutely.
with. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are definitely a lot of questions that are unanswered. And so I think
For sure.
that's something that for me at least is like, all right, let's find these answers.
Sure.
But so I can tell that you're a very empathic person,
Yes, I
and that
think
you
so.
are that you are just kind of, you're very nice, you're very friendly,
Aw,
and
thank you. So are you. Aw, that's so sweet.
yeah.
Aw.
So I wanted to ask you, while you were in the process of writing this, as an empath, I can imagine that, you probably
Yes,
went through all the emotions and
every one of them. Yes. Oh my
yes.
gosh. Yeah.
So I know writing is healing, but at the same time, in the moment as you're experiencing it, what was that like? How did you cope with that? Were there times where you just wanted to kind of walk away from it, or, what did that look like?
Oh, it's horrible because, I would be writing a part of it that would, actually involve the crime, or I would be speaking from the child's point of view. And literally, I could not see my keyboard or my computer because I was crying so hard. But at those times, I have to keep going because that moment, that you're feeling exactly what you should be feeling. And if you were to take a break and come back to your laptop, it would be gone. And so I
Yeah.
think I probably did my best work when I was having mental breakdowns over my laptop.
Hmm.
But yeah, I felt everything. Oh my gosh, to the point where I wanted to warn my Sandy, don't go into that room. Don't go in there tonight. You can't go get your babies and run, that kind of thing. But I knew what she was walking into, and I had to keep going. It was horrible. But very rewarding, when it was all over with. I thought, okay, now they know what she might have been thinking. Now they know, what it might have been like for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult, very difficult at times. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's an important part of writing fiction, at least. I think that you
Oh, sure.
you have to be able to at least have some empathy just for the human condition.
Oh,
Otherwise
for
you wouldn't
sure.
be able to tell the story.
No.
So,
No, 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 not at all. And there have been many times in my other books too where I'm killing one of my favorite characters, and it's the same reaction. But with this, they were very real to me,
mhm,
and because they were real people who I'm representing, just with different names or different location, and knowing that they were real. Oh my gosh, I literally like I said, I'd stay up until 8 a.m. getting everything perfect and not getting any sleep because it was so emotional for me and so moving. And, and then it wrapped up in just one little book. And I hope that, I hope I did them justice. And I think I might have, I don't know, that's still out there. I don't know. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it was hard.
I Well, I don't know. In my opinion, I think it was pretty good. Like at first, I was hesitant
Sure.
because, as I'll just be honest with you, as when
Sure.
I heard that Miss Cadle, aka Scribble,
Yes.
when I heard she had her opportunity, or to speak with Chris face to face,
Yes.
over the phone and letters and all of that, and I was like, God, yes, like this is a perfect opportunity. Like now we're
Sure.
gonna all have some closure. We're all gonna
Yes.
understand what happened. He's gonna tell us the truth, and then the book
Yes.
was released, and it was just like, whoa, like I
What?
was
Right.
crushed. I was crushed.
I know, and she had, and I feel terrible for her too because I feel everything for everyone, and I still don't know what happened, but she had such a golden opportunity to turn this into something that
God,
would really resolve the issues that we all have with the whole crime, I think. And it was obviously a wasted opportunity. And I feel terrible for her, and I don't know why she did what she did. And I've never even heard of anyone committing plagiarism in today's day and age, because
right?
everything's electronic and you can find it instantly at your fingertips. I don't know how why, and I can look past the typos because, everybody is running to an editor or two who can't really edit things properly. But I don't know. I do not. I wish I knew her whole story, why it happened the way it did. I wish I knew.
Honestly, I'm not getting the sense that there is a story. I'm just thinking that she saw an opportunity and she went for it, and for some reason it worked, and she
Sure.
blew it. That's the
Right. She
story.
did. Yeah, she did, which is a shame because she had this material that any author, would love to have. I mean, letters
Absolutely.
from him, and there are so many mysteries surrounding the crime still. And
Yes.
if she had the answers, or if he was willing to provide the answers, oh my gosh, what a golden opportunity that was, passed by. I think I and I've mentioned it before. I mean, Sherilyn and I lived like something like 30 miles apart, and if we would have known each other, I mean, I would have been happy to help her write the book. I would have been happy to help her get the words down, into some coherent manner, I guess. um but that didn't happen, and it happened the way it did, and it's such a shame. It really is.
And it happened so fast too. Like I feel
Yes.
like she I don't know, one of the letters in the book was dated March or something like that, and the book
Sure.
came out in October. It just
Right.
went by, like almost like she rushed through it or into it. And
Sure.
yeah, so it's just really, really bizarre. And then of course, I've seen some stuff like going around in social media where I guess it was like falsely represented to the families, as well
Oh,
as
I know. Oh my
like it
gosh,
would be
I
like
know.
his testimony or something like that, and
Right.
then it wasn't. So
Right.
yeah, a lot of deception. And I found with this case in particular, it's like
Mhm.
cursed. I
It
don't know
is.
why,
Oh
but
my
it's like,
gosh. I
no,
know.
we with Scribble, with everything, just kind of, I feel like it's just kind of like cursed. I don't know,
No, I
but
agree, and that was one of the reasons I was actually hesitant to do this. And then I thought, well, you know what? If I don't do it, it'll haunt me forever because something is calling me to write this book,
right,
and
right,
I had to do it. No matter, I'm very, I'm very emotional and I'm superstitious and all that good stuff. And
hmm,
I was thinking, well, look at all this, trauma, everything that has happened to everyone involved in this one
yes,
act has caused so much, I mean, trouble and ruining lives. And But yeah, I know I feel terrible for her. And as far as rushing it, I don't think that's necessarily a big rush. I mean, if she were an experienced author, that wouldn't have been a big issue getting it done in that
Hmm.
amount of time. I
Hmm.
mean, I think a lot of us who have done it before could, if we have the material, we can whip it out in 3 or 4 months, not a problem. But I think that she was so new at this that she couldn't handle it. She
Yeah.
just couldn't handle it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a shame.
It's a shame. It definitely is. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, when that mess came out, I was just like, all right, like I'm done. And shortly
Yes.
after that, My Daddy's a Hero came out, and I do have to admit that I have not read that book. I
Yes. I've
just simply
gone through
wasn't
reading it.
interested. Like
Yeah.
I just didn't care anymore about what people
Aw,
thought about it. Nothing.
sure, sure. And I found that a lot of her assessment of Chris Watts matches my own. And while I was writing the book, I read like something like 2 chapters of hers during, the writing. I think it just came out when I was wrapping up the writing. I didn't want to read any further into Lena's book because I didn't want her assessment to affect what I
Right.
was putting in this book. And but no, I think her book is very good overall. I really do. I think Lena did a great job.
Yeah. No, I've heard that it is good, but I haven't read it still and still not really interested. But when you say her assessment, I've heard that or read somewhere that she is justifying her opinion that he's a psychopath in the book. Is that kind of her assessment?
She is. That's pretty much her opinion, right? That he is a psychopath, and that people are talking about how, people say that, oh well, we never saw this coming. This is not the man we knew, and basically what she says is that no, it's not the man you knew. You only knew the mask that he was wearing, and that is sort of the way I portray him in the book.
Hmm.
That he's a very empty vessel. That he doesn't have real emotions the way other people do.
Hmm.
And again, it does pretty much match Lena's assessment of him.
Yeah.
And my Charlie is very aware that he doesn't have the proper emotions, that he doesn't think the way other people think, but he doesn't know what to call it. He doesn't know he'd be called a psychopath or a sociopath. He just knows that he's different from everyone else. And I think I even address his finding of religion in the same manner, that he, good and evil don't really matter to him. He doesn't care. He knows the difference, but it doesn't affect him one way or the other between good and evil. So he might as well try to fill himself up with good, which is the word of God. So I think I do kind of match what she says, which is good, I guess.
Yeah.
I agree with her assessment.
Okay. Well, I don't think that he is a psychopath, to be honest.
Really?
And no,
Yeah.
I absolutely do not think that. And every time I hear someone calling him either a psychopath or a narcissist, I just kind of like cringe because
Sure.
I don't think, at least in the clinical sense, he does not fit that criteria at all. And you don't become a psychopath overnight.
Sure.
It's something that there would have been red flags. Now, granted, we don't know. We weren't with him growing up, so we
Right.
don't
Right.
know if he maybe had like this secret hobby of like, I don't know, collecting freaking roadkill or something,
Sure. Right. We don't know. Right.
so that's one thing, but as far from what we know, yeah, I mean, there's just simply not. And also, in order to qualify for the specifier of like a psychopath, you would have to fit the criteria for antisocial personality disorder.
Right. Right.
Right. And so antisocial, like that doesn't mean that, I don't like people, I'm introverted. Like that's not what
Right.
that
Of course.
means.
Right.
It's
Right.
an actual personality disorder that is, when we think of like someone who's just criminally minded, basically, who
Sure.
has a long rap sheet and stuff. So anyways, that's my rant. But yeah, I
Sure.
definitely don't think that he is either a psychopath or a narcissist.
Now, I don't
There's
think
that.
he's a narcissist necessarily. I don't see that part of it, but I do know, and I could be wrong because I only took psych in college. It was like I had double major, but I didn't go any further than that. But as far as being a psychopath, can he not conceal it all his life? I've heard of psychopaths who wear this mask and they're very charming. People think they're a wonderful, great guy. He might be a quiet guy, but he very much convinces people that he's perfectly normal. And
Mhm.
the only tendencies they might have is, the one time they commit a terrible crime. Is that not? No, I don't see the narcissistic part of him at all. I
Right.
just don't see that, but I do see the psychopathology, perhaps.
Yeah.
The fact that he had this mask on, I think, and no one saw the real him because he never displayed it. He just knew that he didn't have the proper emotions, and he couldn't. He had no empathy for other people. I mean, that's what I see, and heaven knows
Mhm.
I could be completely wrong. Of course.
No, you're not. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Like, he does have all of those traits, but the label that we're putting on it might not necessarily be
Sure.
correct.
Sure.
And so with psychopath or psychopaths, that's actually a blend between antisocial personality and narcissistic personality,
Ah,
because
okay, got it.
and that's what makes them so charming and cunning and manipulative. And
Ah,
that's a lot of psychopaths are very like are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies,
sure,
so they have that criminality in them, but they're not
sure.
necessarily the criminal that you meet in jail or whatever. They have that narcissism part where it's like self-preservation, so they
Ah,
are very calculated. And so a mix between them is basically a psychopathology. But
okay.
so that's kind of how I conceptualize a psychopath. And for Chris, you're right. He does probably still to this day does not know or does not feel human emotions like we do, and
Right.
he does not know how to label that. Well, the way that I or conceptualize it is that he knows, he can recognize it, the emotional expressions that he sees in body language and stuff like that, and a
Sure.
tone of voice, so he can adapt to that.
Yes.
He can deliver what is expected of him.
Yes.
And so he does wear a mask in that sense, that he is shallow, like you said. He's just doesn't, there's hollow, I think you said, sorry.
Right.
Uh,
Empty. Right. Right. Right.
right. And so he doesn't have that core or identity. And
Right.
so that's one thing for him to be able to adapt with other people and be the person that they need him to be. But
Yes.
the reason why he does that is not for personal gain, which is a hallmark of psychopathy,
I
is,
see. Okay.
so it wasn't deliberate for him in order for him to gain something. And for psychopaths, once they get what they want, you don't exist for them anymore. So
Ah.
I didn't see that with Chris. He didn't
Really?
do it
Okay.
just for a purpose of getting something in return. So
Okay. I see what you mean.
so
Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
that's kind of my reasoning. But yeah, anyways,
And there
so
is the possibility that he's sort of, off the charts, and it's something we haven't even, diagnosed yet. It might be something else altogether. I don't know.
yeah, I
It's
have
just
some
so
ideas
interesting.
actually. I have some ideas, but I don't I obviously couldn't diagnose him, right?
Sure.
Because, I've never met him. But just based on everything, like I definitely have some ideas, and I would love to be able, like scribble the opportunity she got.
Yes, I
I
know.
would I would have been ecstatic, just to be able to
To
kind of
interview him, even, right? I mean,
pick his brain,
yes. And I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I'd get too emotional to sit there and talk to him or not.
Oh, I would love it. I would
Oh, sure.
I would have a field day.
Oh,
But
I'm sure.
Anyway, so back to the question. Sorry for the derailment.
Oh, no, that's fine. Gosh, I talk on forever. Don't worry. Aw.
So in terms of preparing for, or not necessarily preparing, but in terms of research, what went into your research? What did you look at? What materials?
So I went around and I looked at all of the videos. I read pretty much every article I could find about it. And I entered all the forums, all the online social media forums, and I talked to people. And I think I did pretty much everything that everyone else has done, except that I had a goal in mind that,
Right,
I'm going to write about this.
right.
So I didn't do anything, out of the ordinary. I didn't talk to the families, which, I would have talked to them certainly if they would have been open to talking to me. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think I did everything that everyone else has done to this point, really.
Okay. Have you reached out to the families about before you started writing or during?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But I always kept it open, that here I am on social media. They can reach out to me, and I'd love to talk to them. I really
Mm-hmm.
would, because I didn't, when the way I wrote this book, I did it so that it wasn't harmful to anyone, especially the extended families.
Right,
And I hope they realize that if they were to read it.
right, right.
Pardon me, I'm having an allergy attack. I'm sneezing.
Oh,
Pardon me,
take.
goodness gracious.
Do you need some time, or
No,
are
I'm
you
good.
okay?
I'm fine. That's okay.
Okay.
Oh dear. But no, I think that if they were to reach out to me, I'd be happy to talk to them. There's nothing hidden. There's nothing that, I'm trying to get by or anything like that. I'm not trying to deceive them in any way. Um, and I think that both of the families would, going over the crime part of the book, I don't know if they would do well with that part of it, but I think that if they read the ending and the way that I've handled things, I think they would appreciate it. And I would hope that the ending would be uplifting and give them some hope. That was my goal, at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I think that part of it, about part of healing is to be able to put a narrative on trauma, because trauma does
Sure.
not have words. It
Sure.
it's
Exactly.
and so healing trauma means to be able to put words to it, to describe it, to talk about it. And I think, obviously, like, we're not family, but
Right.
we're all obsessed with this because we want to know the truth. And I can only imagine for the family members, if there's anything
Oh,
that's,
definitely.
it must be torture to not know and not be able to find out and not be able to put a narrative to what happened. And so when you say, that part might be difficult to read, I agree absolutely, but maybe gradually and with time, it can become healing.
And that's what I would hope. And again, I when I wrote this book, I really, I really did want them to be able to get something out of it. And at this point, I don't know, they may already have the book. I don't know. But
Hmm.
time will tell. And of course, I'm completely open to any of them reaching out to me. I feel terrible for them, especially the Resex and Frankie. Oh my gosh, that poor kid. He's obviously hurting so much. That poor kid. Um, and there's nothing I can do about it but write about it. And
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
What makes you say that he's especially the one that's hurting the most?
Well,
Or
I think that he's been the most vocal. The person who's come out and said the most stuff about it. And usually when he lashes out in anger. He's just, I mean, he's her kid brother, and it looks to me like he is the most, the person who's hurting. Maybe not the most. That's wrong to say that, but he is certainly the most vocal about it.
okay.
And every time he's made a statement, I see the pain. And it's overwhelming. I can just see how much pain that kid is in. Um But then again, you look at the Watts family, and they not only lost their daughter-in-law and their grandchildren, but they lost their son, you know, and I don't know who has it worse, and it's not even fair to,
Oh no.
quantify their grief, but I can't imagine being in the position of either family, and they're both victims.
Yeah,
I don't want to vilify either side of the family in any way ever, because
absolutely.
they're as much a victim as anyone else involved in the crime.
Yeah.
So there's that, you know.
No, I absolutely agree with you on
Yes.
that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no one that walked away from this with anything
No,
really.
not at
Everybody,
all.
it's
No.
just a lot of loss all around. And
Everywhere. Yes.
yeah, and it's heartbreaking. And that's at the same time, it's obviously the Watts family has gotten a lot of the what's the word I'm looking for? Lashing out from the public
Yes. I
in
know.
particular. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty because, like I
Oh,
said, every time I look at the discovery, like there's something new that I find. And so, like, very early
sure.
on in my research, I was mad, I was angry, I was like, why aren't they speaking out?
Oh,
And that was my ignorance, because they had spoken out and the feedback was just
I know.
so
And nothing they
negative.
say is taken the right way. And I feel terrible because, they're grieving. Oh my goodness. And I feel terrible. They can't even open their mouths without being attacked. And
Right.
no matter what they say, they get it from all sides, and
Everywhere.
yeah, and I can't imagine that. And the Rusak family hasn't really, I mean, neither one of them have been very vocal, but I notice that Frankie does come out and say things here and there, but it's all because of hurt, and it's not anything that anyone should, have scorn for either family. I mean, they're both in a terrible situation.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I always try to keep in mind, is that you don't ever, you don't ever compare
No,
suffering,
you
you
can't.
know,
No.
you can't.
No.
And so that's, I don't know, like, yeah, I feel for everybody in this situation. I
I
really
do
do.
too. Very much so. Yes.
So, all right. So, sorry, back to the questions.
Sure.
When So obviously this is a fictional account of the story. So
It is.
when you chose their names, how did you choose them? That, by the way,
Oh,
before you answer, I just want to throw in here that as I was reading it, it took me a while initially to become accustomed to to the different
sure,
names,
sure.
but so that was a new experience for me. But yeah, so
Sure. Well, I mean, I didn't have any rhyme or reason to picking the names, really. I have an aunt named Sandy, and I thought, well, let me throw her name in there. And another reason I chose that name was because I feel that Shanann kind of sort of altered the pronunciation of her name. And
mhm.
with Sandy, she could change her name to Cassandra. And there was really no reason. A lot of times my characters just come up to me and say, hi, my name is, Sandy Spencer. What they literally, it just comes to my head, and then boom, I write it down like that for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah,
And of course I've thrown in some names of my friends and family into every book I write usually. So that happened a lot in this book as well. A few names, I think 3 people I know personally, friends of mine, I've actually thrown into the book. And so there's really no reason why I settled on anyone's name. And it had nothing to do with the fact that there's a relative named Sandy, or, nothing like that at all. Really, it
yeah.
was nothing. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then let me see, what else do I want to ask? I have so many questions.
Oh, no, that's fine.
What was your favorite part about writing this book?
You mean the favorite part of the book, or do you mean the fact?
Of the writing process, if there is such a thing.
I know, right? Well, oh gosh, I don't even know. I think Oh boy, my favorite part. I think more or less, and I've mentioned this on one of the, social media forums tonight, that coming up with answers to a
Hmm.
lot of the mysteries, I kind of enjoyed doing that. And I don't know, there's some things that ended up being true that I wrote about. I don't want to mention what they were, but there were things that I didn't find out about, just little minor things until I went further into the research after the book was written. And just for instance, about the mistress, she speaks to her deceased mother in my book. I don't know what part you've gotten to yet, but she speaks to her deceased mother. And I found out later that Nicole Cassandra actually speaks to her deceased grandmother, and I didn't know that. That was a little piece of the information that I had no idea about. And there were a few. So I think coming up with answers to some of the mysteries, that was probably my favorite part, trying to wrap it all up so that that this might make sense. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did notice that there's some talk about magic and stuff like that, and I was like, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. And a
so in
lot of that,
addition to
I'm trying to
empathic,
explain. I'm sorry.
oh, sorry. In addition to being empathic, it sounds like you're also very intuitive.
Yes, I think so. I think you have to be a
Oh yeah.
writer, to tap into what might, what people might be thinking, or what kind of emotions they might have had. You have to be a writer, and most authors are pretty much, very intuitive, I think.
Yeah. No, great. That's great.
Yeah, definitely.
So then what was your least favorite part?
Oh my gosh, the least favorite part would certainly have been writing about the actual crime. That was difficult to get through. And even though, as I mentioned, I wrote it gently so that it's not going to be a graphic explanation or anything like that. But I think that was the part that I cried the most, during
Mhm.
the part where I would, break down and think in my head, I can't do this. I can't write another word. But I went ahead and did it anyway. So the least favorite part would have been addressing the actual crime, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to admit that's like the first part that I jumped to.
Yeah. Aw. Yeah.
And
It was hard.
not because, I'm morbid, or well, I am morbid,
Sure. Sure. Right. Right.
but I think because there's so many questions around what
Yes.
happened that night or that
Right.
morning,
Right.
and so I think that was just like I couldn't wait anymore. Like I was just like, you know what?
Sure.
A couple
Sure.
paragraphs in, I was like, let me find let me find
Oh,
out.
you're so funny. Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Yeah,
Oh.
so I think I have to say that I don't want to reveal how you portrayed it, but I have to
Sure.
say that, that's it was heartbreaking. As
Yes.
curious as I was, and as much as I wanted to know and still want to know what actually happened, right?
Sure.
When you're actually confronted with it, and when you're actually looking at it, eye to eye, so to speak,
Sure.
it's kind of like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And it was difficult, especially when I was writing the part from the little girl's perspective, and what she did and what she tried to do to stop him, get him to leave her alone. And that was hard. That was very hard. And we don't know what really happened, but I gave my explanation for what might have happened, and I think that there might be truth to it. There, we may never know. We may never know the truth, but I did the best I could, and I think that I gave one explanation as to how it might have happened, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So after writing the book, and after, well, obviously we're still talking about it, right?
Yes. We are.
So the case, I mean. So
Yes.
after you've had your journey and your closure, what now? You know?
What now with the case, with doing things about related to the case? I don't know. I think that my role is probably done. I still follow it every day. Of course, I watch everyone's channel, and I get into the forums, and I read everything I can find, get my hands on. but saying what I had to say, I think that's done. I finished what, and someone mentioned, I think in another show, that maybe I can continue it on and explain what the extended families were experiencing during, during and after, and what their life has been like ever since. And I don't know if I want to fictionalize that. If I were to actually reach out to the families and they wanted to give me their story, certainly I'd be happy to write it down for them. But I think my narrative is over. I'm done with, with what I had to say about the case, but I'm going to keep following it, of course, and, hope there's more real information that comes out so we can actually solve the whole thing eventually, So I'm pretty much where everyone else is right now.
Right. So, but are you, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Like, obviously you're still following the case, but as far as what prompted you to write the book was just that kind of like not knowing. And I feel like, this book is great, like it's a work of fiction that we can kind of like imagine, like, yes, okay, maybe this is what happened. And that can kind of help us with that aspect,
Good.
And then when we finish the last chapter, it's like, oh crap, like you turn on any social media and if you're in the groups, like that's the first thing that you see, and it's some of the questions like, how do we really know that she was involved?
Exactly. And you won't really know. I mean, unless he comes out and says step by step, this is what happened, and I forgot to tell you this, and I really want to come clean, we're never gonna know. I mean, can you imagine? We'll never know. And I don't think that his mistress had anything to do with it, but who knows? She might write her own book a year from now, and that might fill in some more gaps, things that we're missing.
Google it.
I know, right?
Yeah, so
funny.
I've been waiting. She knows that.
I know, right? Oh, how funny.
And I would,
so and unless someone comes out and tells the truth completely, we will never know. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So what convinces you, like 100% in your opinion, that she is not involved? Like, what convinces you? You sound like really convinced, and so I'm just curious to hear.
Well, what convinces me is even if she knew him and was in love with him for a year or whatever, I cannot see any woman, saying that I want to kill your whole family. I cannot see that happening. I just really can't. And then, she went to the police right away, not knowing what he had already told them, and yet she comes out with her own story. I just can't see her doing it. I really can't. I don't see the motive. Why? What would she get from it? This great prize, Chris Watts? No. I mean, who would want that? What? I can't see what she would get out of it, what her motive would be. And it's not going to be just to have a man. No woman is that dumb. I mean, yes, there have been women who've killed for that reason, but I can't see it. I really can't. Plus, the fact that she was at work that day, and I'm sure the police have looked into her records and they know she was there. Someone has seen her, things like that. I don't see it. Now, I do think she may have stalked the family. To the point where she might have even been in the neighborhood on her way to work, took a detour and was actually around, which might be why she pinged in that area. I think in the book I touch on that she was stalking them and she'd frequently sit across the street. And I think that might be true. That actually might be true. But I don't have a motive for her. I just don't have it. Nothing that would be compelling enough to have a woman want to kill children. I can't see it. Yeah.
No,
I really can't.
Like I definitely, as you know, have my doubts with the mistress. And I'm not ready to say that she had committed any of the acts. Like I would not say that. I don't think that there's, like she would not be walking free if she had done that. Law enforcement they might not be perfect. They're human, but I don't think they're that incompetent, right?
No,
And
I don't
so,
think so either. And she's not going to cut a deal. Yes, I strangled two little
right, no,
girls, but
no.
give me a deal. No, it's not. It's just logically not going to happen. And again, she
Yeah,
was probably involved. She probably stalked them. She probably had a little bit of obsession over the whole family.
right.
But I can't see her doing anything like that. I just really can't. I can't.
And that's, yeah. So I can't say that she would have actually, that she's a murderer, that she would have actually
Sure,
committed anything like that. But I definitely don't, I cannot say for a fact that she at least didn't have some knowledge, and at most that she didn't have any influence over what happened. So
sure,
that's what I'm stuck on. And I'm stuck
sure,
on that because there is that, the stalking and the pings and the
sure.
lies to the FBI. Like, I would be scared to lie to the FBI,
Oh,
to be
wouldn't you
honest
though? Oh
with
my
you.
gosh, who could do that? Oh my gosh.
I would
And
be terrified.
I would too. I would think, oh my gosh, they know everything I do. They have
Yeah.
cameras in my house, right?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how she was able to look them in the eye
I
after she
know.
knew that they see all of her like entire Google history and everything like that.
Sure.
Can cops trace text messages, really?
Sure.
You
Well,
know?
I think honestly, and I think I wrote it this way in the book too, that she was afraid that he did kill his family and that she would be implicated. And that is really why she deleted her text messages, why she deleted everything. She wasn't just mad at him because he lied to her. That was a complete lie. She was
Oh,
worried
absolutely.
that she would be implicated, period.
Yes,
And
and if she
by
was
doing it,
implicated.
yes, and by doing it, it made her look guilty. So I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Let's just say this. If I was having an affair with a married man and
Yes.
anything like this happened, God forbid, like, I hope I have enough
Sure.
brain not to put myself in a situation like that.
Right, right.
But I mean, Nicole Kessinger is not stupid. Like, and Chris is not stupid, yet here you go. So that's part of the not knowing part, right? That, it could happen to anyone kind of,
Sure, sure.
but yeah, so if I were ever in that situation, I honestly can say that I don't think that I would like that. The first thought that would come to my mind would be, let me delete all the text messages because I don't want to
That's
be
true.
involved. Like, that's,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's, so there's something sinister about this that is just not letting me let go of it. And
Sure.
it's my gut, it's my hunch, it's my intuition. I'm just gonna keep going at it until I
Sure.
get
And you're
some
doing a great
answers.
job. You're doing a great job. And I think that if it were me, because I'm all about honesty and I can't even lie if we have like a birthday surprise coming up for someone. I'm terrible at lying. And it breaks my heart too. But that's just me or that's just you. But someone like her, she probably thought, oh crap, I'm into it up to my earlobes. I don't know what to do. All I need is to be implicated in a murder. Let me delete all this crap because, I look bad. I've been talking about how, he needs to get rid of his wife and, whatever. And she probably did. And she
Oh
probably,
yeah.
there were probably a few texts that said, oh, I can't wait till you get rid of her, that type of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think she was worried about what that would look like and the fact that she would be implicated. But she looked even more guilty by getting rid of them.
She sure
So,
did. She sure did.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like, okay, maybe what as far as I would go is I would delete like all the nudes, obviously,
Of course. Well,
So,
that would be different, right?
and I would tell Kobach, like, look, Kobach, you can't look at my tatas or anything
Right.
like that. So that's gone. Just so you know, I'm not trying to hide anything. Everything else we can talk
Oh
about,
my god. Oh, how funny. Yeah, I
So,
mean, I would probably do that too, or ask for a female officer to,
oh,
examine
she
my
would
phone.
never do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Girl, please.
I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I don't know. I honestly think she deleted everything so she wouldn't look guilty. But in doing so, she made herself look guilty. So, yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also think she might have been pregnant.
I do too.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
I really do.
I've been looking for any clues that might reveal it, but
Yes.
I am convinced, not convinced 100%
Yes.
actually, but yes,
Like
like
90%, right? I do believe she might have
yes,
been pregnant. Yep.
girl,
Yep.
thank you.
Yes. And it's just a feeling I get. And I think they took pity on her. And honestly, I know she's not in witness protection, but I think that
No,
they pitied her so much that they said, look, we'll pull a few strings and we'll let you disappear. You know, you have to pay for it, whatever. But here, let's get you another identity and you go away, take your dad's money, whatever. So I think that might have happened, but not an official witness protection program because she doesn't qualify, you know?
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even going that far, you know, I honestly don't believe that the FBI would even go that far to give her like that wiggle room to get away, to
Sure.
disappear because at the end of the day, like children are involved. Like this case devastated
Yes.
the entire community.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe, you know, that Tammy, Coder, Kobach, any of them would just say, yeah, you know, let her just ride off into the mountains and
Sure.
figure it out. So I don't think that they did that necessarily. But at the same time, like I think that she was very like she got a lawyer right away, and so and then Chris pled guilty, so
Sure.
he shut it down right from the start, and so I don't
Sure.
think at that point they had enough on her, and so she's probably in a different country right now, in my opinion. But yeah,
Sure. She might. I think she's still here domestically. You know, I think she's around the country somewhere.
yeah, I
I
would
don't
love
see her
to
being out of the
talk to her
country,
too,
but
so
like in some little town in the Midwest or something like that. I don't know. But she might even be right there. She might even be, and she has kind of a plain look to her. So, cut her
you
hair,
telling her
color it,
basic
get some glasses, you know. There'd be a
basic
lot of ways to conceal her identity, I think. But, you never know. She might be in Europe.
yeah, basic Nikki.
Yes, exactly. And she does. She has a plain face, and she could probably, like I said, just make her hair blonde or cut it or whatever, and gain a few pounds, lose it, and completely disappear. And especially if she has a child, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting too.
Very scary though. Can you imagine raising his child? I don't know if I could do that. Oh my.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But that's her issues and not mine. Thank goodness. Knock on wood.
Someone in chat said that she might conceal her identity, but she can't conceal that voice.
I know. Oh my goodness. Oh my good. When I heard her talk for the first time, I had to do a double take. I think I was watching her video interview and I had to do it. It doesn't seem like that voice would come. I mean, I've got a crazy high pitched voice and I literally have to control it to sound like an adult. But her voice, oh my goodness, that girl needs to take voice lessons or something. Yeah.
Oh, she switches it up too, depending on who she's talking to.
Yes. Did we ever figure out where those crazy giggles on that recording? I mean, did she use like a voice altering machine or something? Or how did we
You know,
figure that out?
I always like to do experiments. So
Sure.
a lot of my theories, I guess, I try to reenact, or I don't know if that's the
Sure.
right word, but recreate, I guess.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I did with my sister, we did a reenactment of the red car, you know.
Oh, okay.
So obviously like my car is not red. So and my sister's husband, he drives a car that is the same like the truck Chris drove.
Oh, how
So
scary.
we recreated like the scenario, and I like popped out of a bush with my
You're
car.
funny. You're so
So, um, okay, what in the world were we talking about? Because I completely derailed
I
now.
have no about her voice and how she made that high pitch.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so with that too, I downloaded, like, I can't even tell you how many apps
So
from the App Store, because we know that she's tech savvy, except when it comes to, handing over her text messages to the
right.
and she's the one that suggested the calculator app to Chris. So
Sure.
so I figured, it has to be some sort of app or something like that allows you to make calls, like maybe prank calls or something. And so I downloaded a bunch of apps and tried them. And they all sound the same to me. You can recreate it. Like, I do have a recording in my phone of that. And I listened to it the other day for some reason. Like, I was going through my stuff and I listened to it and I got like scared. I was like, what the hell?
Wow, really?
So yeah,
Were you able to recreate that sound though? I mean, that voice?
Let me see if I can find that recording. I'll play
pull
it.
that up.
But do not judge me. Like, I'm telling you.
You're funny.
I use the same words because that's an experiment, right? Like, I use the same expression, everything. So, oh, geez.
Oh, I've got to hear this. Find it.
Now I have to remember where I put it. But
how funny.
But yeah, so you can definitely recreate it. It's just a matter of I can't figure out like what app she used for it.
It might have been because I've seen kids buy those little. It's like a little machine that you hold in front of your mouth. I haven't seen it in years, but I know my best friend's sons had one of those little machines where you can alter your voice as you're speaking.
Right.
But I haven't seen them in years, so it must be an app.
Right. Yeah, I think it's I couldn't find an app that allows you to call, and while you're in the call, it alters your voice.
Sure.
But then again, like, I have an iPhone, and I know that in order, like, there are apps that allow you to do that, but you have to pay for it. And I was like, yeah, not today, Nicole, not today. Yeah. So I tried to get as close as possible. So I just pre-recorded it,
Sure.
Assuming that she could go into or she could get an app that allows her to do that. But
and
yeah,
it was so many octaves above her regular voice. But didn't she, in one of the calls, she went back to her regular voice pretty readily? Yes.
That was
so creepy. Oh my god.
Right. It just went from like to
to normal, or whatever normal is for her. Oh my goodness, how weird.
Yeah, that definitely was. So I'm still scrolling here. I'm trying to find
it. Keep looking. But there used to be like a little machine, and I know that, like I said, my best friend's two sons were, awful rotten kids when they were like 10 or 11. And I remember they had one of those little machines, and they'd come up behind me and say something in a funky voice that sounded like a chipmunk or something,
Yeah.
But I don't know if they sell them anymore. It was kind of like a little gag toy for kids. I don't know. That would have been like 10, 15 years ago. So I don't know if they do it anymore.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do. I know that my little nephew has things like that. Like, he has a little microphone.
Yes.
That when you like talk into it,
it alters your. Unless could she have done something like helium?
That would be like even more of a red flag. Like, yeah, she absolutely could have.
Sure.
But can you imagine like her just like driving down the street sucking on a balloon?
And you have helium balloon or something. No.
And calling Chris.
So weird. Oh my goodness. Unless she had the ability, unless she has great vocal control and she can make a voice like that, I don't know. But like I said, I've gone the other way. My voice has always been really high pitched, and when I actually did the news, I had to go through voice training to get my voice deep enough to be able to sound like an adult.
So, really?
Yeah, and I could probably still do the high pitched voice, but I've learned to control my voice to the point where I sound normal.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
it's really weird because when I started doing the on air thing, I sounded like a little girl. I sounded like Minnie Mouse or something. And they had this one guy come in and literally train me how to deepen my voice enough to sound like a normal person to read the news, so people didn't,
yeah,
laugh at me and call in and make fun of me or whatever. But, since then I've become, very normal in my speaking. I don't do it anymore, but my natural voice was really high pitched. It really was. But I don't know, because she seems to have a naturally deep voice, of course. I don't know
yeah,
how she could alter it if she didn't have help from some kind of machine or an app. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. I spent a couple of days the other day transcribing the very first interview she had with her dad in
Sure.
in the park, and
Yes.
that was probably the only time in the last 2 years, I guess, that we have been familiar with her voice, was
Sure.
that where I thought, like, okay, thank God she has a voice she does, because she is so obnoxiously loud sometimes.
She is.
And
Yes.
the recording itself is crappy as it is, so you
Yes,
can't
I know.
hear anything. But
Right.
then, like, she's so loud that
You can hear. Right. Right.
exactly.
Oh my. And then Shanann had that beautiful, beautiful voice, a perfect speaking voice. I don't know. I don't understand, any part of what he did or why it all happened. I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find this. So this was
God.
very early on, obviously, because it's taken me
Yeah.
forever to
Yeah.
find it. But yeah, I did recreate it. And if I can't, if it takes too long, I guess if I find it, I'll like send it to you or something.
No,
But
that's
yeah.
fine. Yeah. 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 I'd love to hear it on air, so everyone else
Oh,
can hear it.
well, true.
Oh, how
Oh, what
funny.
did I do with it? Hold on, hold on. I think I
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Go ahead.
I think I know where to find it. But
Awesome.
let's see. What can we talk about in the meantime while I'm looking for it? Because I don't want to
Oh, I
switch
don't
the
know.
topic
Anything you
and
want
then
to.
come back. Because I
Anything
have
you
more
want to
questions,
talk
but
about. I'm easy. Whatever. But no, I mean, the book's been doing very well. I've gotten all good feedback from it. And
good.
I think, that's good. I need reviews. So if anybody out there has read the book, please write a review. There's always that plea. Because getting reviews is like pulling teeth, especially if they like your book. I don't
Really?
know why they don't tend to give you a review. And
I
um
wonder. Oh, did we lose you again?
no, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, good.
No, I'm here.
Sorry. No, I was wondering. At first, I was wondering, like, why wouldn't people leave reviews? But then, I realized, like, oh, I'm one of those people. I never
And
think.
I hate to do that. I'm very guilty of
Yeah,
that too. And again, I read a lot of my friends' books, because I know so many authors now. And I try to leave reviews, but then I forget. And then, Amazon will remind me. And then I try to go back and do it. And that sounds terrible. But yeah, people don't like to leave reviews, and they don't understand it could
unless
just be
they're
one or
negative.
two lines. It could be I hated the book or I loved the book or
Right.
whatever. It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's negative.
Right,
So
right.
Tanya's book is called No Inclination, and it's a fictional account of the Chris Watts case.
Right.
And I think she does a really good job of giving the victims a voice. So she talks in the perspective of everybody, all the characters.
Thank
And
you.
I have, in the description below the video, I have put up a link for the book, but also her author page on Amazon,
Thank
because
you.
she has written, what is it, 8 books?
Yeah, this will be my eighth. This is my eighth one that's been published. Yes.
Yeah, so she's published 8 books. So there's
Thank you.
a lot more in it, and they sound interesting. So I'm
Thank
definitely going
you.
to check it out. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all that.
of course. And
Aw.
I'm like really upset when, when you need something and you can't
And
find
you
it.
can't find it, and then you don't want it, and it's sitting right there on your desktop. Yeah, I know.
Yes. That's literally what's
That's me. Yeah.
happening now.
Oh, sneezing again. Pardon me. Oh, I don't know
So
why it's not allergy season.
I'm lucky because I don't have any allergies
Oh,
that I
I do.
know
We
of.
do
So
around here. Yeah. And I don't remember if I took a Claritin today or not. Probably. Hey, whatever. I'll live.
oh gosh, let's see. So I'll just keep looking for it, and if I eventually come back to it, if I
Sure,
eventually
sure.
find it,
Yeah.
we'll just come back to it. But
Sounds good.
another question. So in addition to obviously like the Amazon profile, are you on social media? Like if people had questions for you or if they wanted to
Sure.
give you some feedback or anything like that, is there a way
Sure.
that they can reach you?
Sure. A lot of people actually just reach me through my Facebook, my regular page, which is just my name, Tania Hagan. A lot of my readers actually, have befriended me, so I have a lot of friends.
Oh, cool.
I think I'm pretty close to the 5,000 limit, but I also have my Tania Hagan author page on Facebook. And a lot of people can reach me through that as well. Plus, I'm on Instagram at Tanya_Hagan_author. And I do have a Twitter account, but I'm very guilty about not really going on Twitter that often.
Right.
But I am there too. But you can find me on social media. You can Google me, and it'll point right to all my social media pages. And I answer everybody's messages. I love to interact with my readers. So anyone who has any questions or anything like that, they can reach out to me, and I'll definitely get back to you. As soon as I see it. But
Awesome.
I'm pretty accessible. You can find me everywhere.
Yeah. And you are also part of our Facebook group as well, which is,
I am. Yes, they can talk to me right there too.
yes.
That would be great.
Okay. And then, so going back to like just writing in general, in your opinion, like what makes a good story?
What makes a good story? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, if you write what people can see that. If you write about things that you are very familiar with or things that you have a lot to say about, people can see that. If you're given a prompt and you don't really know the assignment or something like that, that's much more difficult and you lose interest quickly. But one thing I
Yeah.
like to do in all my books is I always give a surprise ending or a twist ending, and that
Mm,
seems to come across very well. A lot of my readers actually look for that, because I pretty much in every book except for my last nonfiction, I pretty much give some kind of a surprise ending or something that twists the story a little bit in the end. So that's something that's pretty popular. I never leave a cliffhanger though. Everything's always wrapped up by the ending of the book. Even in my series, the Cure series, there's no cliffhangers, so that um you don't read one book and then have to go out and buy the next one. They all stand alone. But I think that if you really enjoy what you're writing, that shows, and people appreciate that. And then I also look for things that haven't been really written about, things that are unique, like the Cure series. It's about human cloning, but it's not done in the way that anyone else has ever done it. It's completely a twist on everything sci-fi you've ever read about cloning, human cloning, and it's something that people wouldn't expect. And I think you need to find something that is pretty much new to everyone, and that does keep the reader's interest. So yeah.
yeah. Okay. So I have found it.
Oh, good. Let's hear that puppy.
Okay, so now I haven't heard this in a long time, but
You're funny.
this is going to be very probably embarrassing.
No judgment here. You're
So,
fine.
well, I'm not worried about your judgment. But
Oh my.
okay, hold on.
Do it. Do
I'm
it.
gonna cheat and I'm gonna mute myself for just a second just to make
Okay,
sure that
go
this is
ahead.
the right
Go ahead.
one.
I'll be quiet. You're funny. I can't wait to hear it though.
Ew, this is like the creepiest thing ever.
Play it.
I don't know how to rewind it now. Hold on.
Oh, you're
Oh,
funny.
hold on. Let's see. I'm gonna forward it. Oh shoot. Okay. Sorry for cussing.
No
Here I
problem.
go. I'm gonna play it.
Play it.
Oh geez, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Hi. It's me. I was just calling you, armchair detective, to show you my NK voice. Call me back. Bye.
I love it.
I sent that to armchair
Alan.
detective.
Yeah. I can't believe he didn't capture that and play it online. You'd think he would.
Oh, he
That's
didn't want
adorable.
it. He's probably sick of my
Your antics.
reenactments.
Oh my gosh, that sounded just like her though. Oh my goodness, how scary. So maybe you're really Nicole Cassandra. That's the whole. No, I'm kidding.
That is definitely what a lot of people think. So it's possible.
Oh my gosh, did they really? What?
I'll play it again. Here you go.
Do it, please.
Oh God.
Hi. It's me. I was just calling you, armchair detective, to show you my NK voice. Call me back. Bye.
So we solved the mystery. She's you. We've got it now. Okay.
Yes, it is not an app. It's actually me.
Actually, you. Oh, what if? I'm kidding. Oh, that's
Hey,
great though. That is
everything
great.
is possible. Anything
is possible, right?
right. So
Oh my, that's great.
that was fun. I forgot about that, but now, yeah.
But it does. I mean, that sounds like what she did. So maybe she used an app, but then she changed back to her normal voice. I mean, why go to all that effort just to call your boyfriend?
I know.
I don't get it. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I mean, very weird. Very, very weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, yeah, and actually one because she left two that we know of.
Yes,
right?
two.
And one of them was left actually when she was in Frederick, when she pinged in Frederick.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. How did I miss that point? Okay.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Yeah, it was like, I think July 20th or something. July 20th. I don't know. She pings in Frederick 3 times total. One being the morning of the murders, and then twice, like one after another. I can't remember what date it is. July something.
Sometime in July, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And one of those times is when she left that voicemail. So that's why when I said, can you just imagine her driving and sucking on like a helium balloon?
Yeah, helium balloon driving past the house. Oh my God.
Yeah, because one of the times she was driving. So.
Oh my God. I think that you can kind of hear that. Isn't there one of those two? I might be imagining it, but it almost sounds as if she's in a car.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Yeah. Very weird. Oh my. Yeah, they had like a creepy little relationship, even if it didn't end in murder. It was so creepy. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's because, just because Chris just kind of like went with the flow. He said that like he never felt like that before. He's never felt for anyone like that before. And and for him, I think it's just the fact that this is not Shanann. He's alone without the kids, without her for a long time. And so everything, his entire like environment changed very quickly. And so, so to him, it was new, and he would probably thought, oh my gosh, I never felt like this before. But really, it's just,
Right. It's just the newness and the fact that he doesn't have his wife there and the kid. It's a completely different life. But I don't know. And I've heard all different kinds of things about him, that he may have a different kind of diagnosis. I don't know. I really don't know. And the fact that he was so quiet. I mean, I don't know. It's such a mystery. I really don't know.
Yeah.
You know, very weird.
Yep. All right. Let me see. Just want to make sure I cover all the questions because
Sure.
I'm gonna. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about that. What do you want the biggest takeaway for your readers to be from this book?
You know, oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't know, maybe the biggest takeaway would be the fact that you know, there's a lot of different ways to look at what happened, and I I would like for them to think that maybe this might be the way things did happen, and the fact that they get to listen to and be in the lives of these people who were victims, it might give them some comfort and let them think that oh, I don't even know. I don't even know. You know, and again, I wanted the ending to bring a lot of people comfort. So maybe the fact that there is some sort of a um, a closure in the book that we
Okay.
weren't allowed in real life. So I'm hoping the closure would be something that they could take away that would be a positive.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Again, someone is asking, I'm trying to also keep track, but someone's asking about the name, and it's this particular book, Tania's latest book is called No Inclination. And
Yep.
actually tell us about that title, you know, because I kind of just dismissed it because it's just like, oh, you know, it's just Chris and his
Sure, sure.
statements.
Well, I noticed that, you know, when I initially, when one of the first things I looked at back when my friend, you know, got me interested in the case, I watched all the body cam footage. And then
Right.
immediately after that, I think I watched the interviews that he did on the front porch. And I was just so, I mean, in addition to the fact that he was clearly lying, I was just so taken aback by his incorrect usage of the word inclination. And I thought that if anyone's going to remember anything about what this guy said, it's going to be when he said no inclination. And it just kind of struck me and it stuck in my head. And I was kind of happy when in the Lifetime movie, they actually allowed the character to say that line as well. So
Yeah.
I thought that people would know who I'm talking about, even though the story is based on the Watts case rather than an actual, you know, blow by blow of what happened. So I
Oh,
thought people would
absolutely.
know. Yeah, people would know.
Yeah, I think the very first time that I saw that I learned about your book was when you did the interview with Armchair Detective.
Sure.
And so that's when I first saw it. And as soon as I saw the word, like I didn't even know what was going on because I wasn't keeping up with anything at that time. And
Sure.
as soon as I saw No Inclination, I was like, oh, there's a new
Yeah.
book.
And I think, you know, he was the first person to interview me, and he interviewed me even before, I mean, gosh, I think it was almost a whole month before the book released. And
Oh, really?
I was very happy about that. That was so kind of him. And I think it was yeah, because I think we were actually talking about the release date then, but he had it available to his Patreons only, which is fine. You know, they gave me a link from my mom to watch, which was, you know, so sweet. She loved it. But yeah, so yeah, he got to me first, which I really appreciated. That was very, very kind of him. But yeah, I the title is supposed to let everyone know exactly who we're talking about,
Oh,
even though it's fiction.
no, yeah, it definitely does that. So, yeah, and I think I remember, I think it might have, or it must have been around Christmas time because I think I remember you had your Christmas tree behind
Oh,
you.
probably. Yep, probably. Yes,
Yeah,
and you know, we had that. My husband has a hernia, and oh God, I'm telling his secrets on. But it's
I'm
hard
sure
for,
he'll
you know, we've
appreciate
got this
this.
giant Christmas tree, and so it took for. I mean, I'm sure as heck not going to pack it up myself. So so my daughter and her boyfriend ended up packing it away. But I remember, yeah, it was a few days after Christmas, and I still had it up. So I do remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Someone said No Inclination would be a good band name too. I
That's
agree.
true. Oh my gosh, they need to do that. Oi.
Okay, so let's see. I swear I only have 2 more questions.
Sure, that's
We've been on for
fine.
2 hours almost.
I
Jeez.
can talk forever, so go on.
Me too. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
good.
Okay,
That's funny.
so another thing, this is all over the place now, but in terms of, so this is your first kind of like true crime book, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
fiction, but it's based on true crime. And so what have you found that there's a difference in terms of writing style? Like what is different about it?
About the what?
As opposed
I
to,
think that my writing style is pretty recognizable, so I could never, write an essay for someone or anything like that. But no, I think I don't think the writing style was any different. I've kind of settled into, a way of writing, and I do the same throughout, all my books. I don't think it was different in any way, except for the fact that I wanted to make sure that I was staying true to my characters and that I didn't, add anything or take anything away from who they really were. And I'm hoping that I got them correctly, especially the victims. But no, I don't think I changed my writing style in any way. I usually pretty much go, and my writing style is very simple. I make sure that the way I write, it feels to the reader like as though they're thinking it rather than the fact that they're reading anything.
right.
And that's
Oh, I
kind of the
like
way I
that.
write.
I
Nothing
like
nothing
that.
much
Yeah.
different. Oh, good. Thank
That's a great
you.
way. That's a great way of putting it. I never thought about it that way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and are there do you have any inkling or inclination, sorry.
Inclination.
Do you have any inclination about any future projects?
I've got a bunch of books on my laptop that are literally just sitting there that I haven't finished. If I get bored with the project, I'll go on to something else, or whatever.
Oh
Someone asked me
God.
about writer's block, and I don't really get writer's block. I just get writer's boredom. But there are a few books I've got that I need to finish. And my friend and I, my friend David, he was the one who got me into this case. He's also a writer. And
Mhm.
we're thinking about co-authoring another book along the same lines, taking a true crime and fictionalizing it. So that
Okay.
might be my next project if I don't pull out one of my other. I've got a couple of psychological thrillers that are on my desktop that I probably should finish. I've got, a sci-fi book that I don't like. I actually finished it, but I can't stand it. So either I'm going to get into one of my other books, or I'm just going to go ahead and, do maybe another true crime book similar to this one with my friend.
Okay. Well, do you have any idea, like, do you have any thoughts about what crime, or is that a secret?
We've been kicking around a lot of ideas. I've got one book that I started actually before I wrote The Cure that's actually about the Casey Anthony case. But I don't know if I'll ever finish that one. I might bring it out. But we were talking about the guy, oh, what's his name? Luca something or other, who was
Magnata?
in
Yep.
that. Yes, and my friend David said that he could. What we're thinking about doing is he'll take the perspective of the killer, and then I'll take
Oh,
everyone else's perspective. And we're talking about that case right now, but we might change. I'm not sure, but it'll definitely
yeah.
be a high profile case that we attack. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting one. I actually, yeah, and oh, never mind. That's another soapbox, but
Oh, I know. Gosh.
yeah, but did you see, I'm assuming you saw the Netflix
I
documentary.
did. I watched it. Yes. Oh
Yeah,
my
isn't it
gosh.
great?
Oh my gosh, what a nut. Yeah. And I was hesitant to watch it because I'm a big animal person, and
Yeah.
thankfully they didn't show any of, really any of that. And I actually fast forwarded whenever I saw an animal or whatever, but yeah, I did, and I'm fascinated with it as well. So yeah, that might be what we do, but we haven't decided yet for sure. But that's an excellent documentary though. I really recommend it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can do, like, obviously I follow a lot of, well, right now I'm stuck on the Watts case, but I've
Sure.
always followed true crime. I think since
Sure.
like Jody and Amanda
Yes.
Knox and like I fall asleep to trials. Like I watch murder trials for fun and interrogations.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like used to the gore of it. But when
Yes.
animals are involved and
I
children,
know.
it's
Or
a whole
children.
new like
Right?
dimension.
Oh my gosh. And I'm the same way, exactly the same way. Which is why I'll never kill an animal or a child in any of my books. I promise. I do not like authors when they do that. And I would never do that in any of my books, except for this one, which necessarily followed the path of a true crime, unfortunately. But in general, I would never do that. And I have I'm a big animal person, definitely. So I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, I can't take nope, no animals.
No way.
Okay, last question, I promise.
Sure.
For like we established already, writing is healing, and it can be difficult sometimes. So what advice would you give to individuals or to people who might be interested in writing or would want to pursue a career in that, or not necessarily
Sure.
career, but just writing in general?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'd recommend is to read a lot. And the more that you read, the more, the better a writer you'll become. And, I remember when I was 10 years old, I literally, I read everything. I read all kinds of books that I probably shouldn't have
Yeah.
because a lot of them were really scary. And I literally made a wall in my bedroom with all of my paperback books. And my parents thought I was nuts. I piled them because I read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of novels when I was, 9, 10, 11 years old. I suggest that you read everything you can get your hands on, and simply write like you talk. Don't, put any flowery language in there or make it, try to make it sound like you're intelligent. I mean, obviously, you probably are intelligent if you're writing, but you don't have to put in any words that are, like the $5 words. Just write like you speak and you'll do great. And I think that if I can write, anyone can write. Believe me, I'm no one special. I'm just a mom. But yeah, anyone can write. I suggest that anyone who wants to do it, just sit down and do it. And before you know it, you'll have a whole book. Just do it. Get an idea and start writing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I would disagree with you.
Oh, no.
I think you are special.
Aw, thank you.
So,
Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you. I'm pretty
yeah.
normal, though.
Oh, and I don't know if, let's see. I forgot to link it, and I actually didn't forget, but I wanted to ask you first. But I know that another YouTube creator did what do you call it, like a review of your book,
Sure.
like chapter by chapter.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask if it was okay with you that I also link that as well.
Oh,
if
that would
people
be
want to
wonderful.
listen.
Thank you. She is I love her. She is a beautiful YouTuber and she's doing a great job. Oh my gosh, I love her videos. Thank you. Please do.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
Definitely.
So JimEvaFam, I think is how you
Yes, that's
pronounce it.
her. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So she
Great
did
lady.
a review of No Inclination.
She did, and she's going chapter by chapter. And I mean, her reviews are so in depth. And that's why I approached her, first. I said, would you be interested in please reviewing my book? And she actually did it. I was so happy. What a nice girl. And she's doing a great job. So yes,
I think.
please do. Please link it. Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yay.
Is there anything that I didn't ask that I forgot to ask that you wanted to mention?
Oh no, I think you got everything. I can't think of anything. Like I said, I could talk forever.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so very much for doing this.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. I love it. And I'll come on anytime you want. It was a lot of fun, really.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So again, I apologize for Friday, but I'm glad that we.
Oh, no problem. No, I'm glad it worked out like this. It actually, like I said, Fridays I usually get out of town, so I'm glad that we did it today. It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch.
Wonderful.
Good
Sounds
luck,
good.
and I promise I will sit down and write a review.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. I need them. Definitely need those reviews. Thanks, Dr. B. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, son. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. It's 2 hours that we've been on, so that was really fun. It flew by. I guess time flies when you're having fun. Thank you for, again, joining us. The link is in the description box for if you want to look at Tania's book. And I also linked her Amazon author page. And there's a little excerpt too on the book. And then I'm also going to put the link up for JimEvaFam for her reviews of Tania's book. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the mods. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And I will see you guys soon. Good night.